How do you even start the show? I forgot.
Hello.
Hello. What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Talk to Me here on notfest.com. As always, I am Joshua Toomey, joined by the one, the only Chris Akin. Chris, how we doing?
Awesome, man. What's happening over there?
Not a whole lot, man. We've done some we kind of came out of our comfort zone and did some like emo screamo interviews this week, man. What are we doing?
We're expanding our boundaries here, you know. You have to jump out of the new metal bandwagon. I have to jump out of the classic metal bandwagon. So we both kind of leaped with both feet this week.
Yeah, man. You had Andy from Black Veil Brides on the on Chris Akin Presents, man. That was a fun interview. I dug it.
Thanks. That was I'm a fan anyway. That's the weird thing is I am actually a fan. I know that makes me kind of, I don't know, whatever, but I like them. I'm a fan anyway. Dude, I'll tell you what was the most, I don't know, surprising out of that whole thing when he said that he's only 31 years old.
Yeah, I heard that too. I was like, wow. Like, you would think, I mean, I guess 31 is not too far off, but I would think like maybe a 35, 36. But yeah, he's definitely, he's a lifer. I mean, that's all he's ever known is being in a band.
I mean, doesn't it seem like we've been talking about Black Veil Brides at least peripherally for 20, 25 years?
And that actually leads into my interview with Craig Owens. The first time I saw Black Veil Brides was, I think they were headlining Over Drugs at a club here. And it's funny because I was always friends with Adam from Story of the Year, who played bass in Drugs. And he had us backstage or whatnot. And I was trying to use the bathroom and go wash my hands after using the bathroom. And the Black Veil Brides guys, that was when they were kind of doing the big hair Motley Crue kind of look at the and they were hogging the bathroom there. I couldn't even just wash my hands. I was like, all right, Black Veil Brides, get out of here.
Very nice. But yeah, that was cool that I don't know, because we don't really coordinate our interviews at all. And it's just weird how the last few weeks, 2 weeks in a row, it was the same bands.
Right.
And now this week it's still the same style. It's interesting how that's working. Yeah.
And then I had like my biggest nightmare ever happened today. I had the band Until I Wake on, they're an Amy from Adam's Splitter band. And she said, hey, will you interview this band for me at Louder Than Life? I was like, yes, I will. I dug them. I think they're really good. And so I sat down with them at Louder Than Life, did like a 6-minute interview. Actually, I was listening to it last night, kind of getting it ready for the podcast. And I was just like, oh man, I was like, how did you get the band name question away from having the most generic interview ever? I was like, what are your influences? And some of those kind of just reaching for questions. But the one guy that was sitting there was two guys, singer, and what I thought was the guitar player, because he talked about tracking the new album, tracking the guitars on the new album. Sure. So I'm like, all right. So I go to their, I was getting everything ready, getting the graphics ready. And so I go to the Facebook page. There's no like just straight up, this is this person thing. So I was like, all right, well, the guy was talking about playing guitar on the album. So I go to the, Wikipedia or whatever, and it says August, blah, blah, blah. The guy's name was August as the guitar player. Okay. So I was like, all right, singer Cody. I was like, Cody in August of Until I Wake, put it out, posted everywhere, posted on YouTube, posted on the thing. I get to work and I'm sitting there and I get tagged in the Knotfest thing, and it's like, at Until I Wake. And I was like, oh, I'll click on it. And then I clicked on August's profile from that, and I was like, ooh, that's not August. That's not who I had in the thing. So I text Amy. I'm like, is this the right names on this graphic? And she wrote me back, and she was just like, she's like, I don't think so. And then like almost immediately the band reaches out to me, and they're like, just so you know, that's Cody and that's Ryan, the bass player in that photo. I was like, oh shit. So I'm like, I'm apologizing. I'm like, that is like that is the worst thing to happen ever, is to get the names wrong or the photo, the wrong photo. And so yeah, I just rushed home after work and dove in the computer down here. And and what sucks is I have to update it on the podcast feed, on the YouTube feed, go through all the Facebook pages I posted it on, and changing August to Ryan. So my apologies. Until I Wake. Make sure to go check them out. They were super cool, and I definitely dug the band. But yeah, I definitely have the wrong band numbers written down.
Dude, it happens, man. I mean, we interview how many people a year?
Lots.
And a lot of times, look, let's just be honest, a lot of times we don't know them. We don't. Most of the time we don't know them. I mean, we'll know the big name when we interview Wednesday 13. It's pretty obvious if that's Wednesday 13
Right.
or it's not. But when you're interviewing, I don't know, band X that you've never interviewed before, you've never met before.
Yeah.
Who the hell knows who they are?
Well, that's the thing too, is in this festival settings, sometimes but for the most part, you don't know what band member you're getting. Like you're getting, when they say, "Hey, can you interview Chevelle?" You don't know if you're getting the singer or the drummer, or they, "Hey, can you interview Until I Wake?" I didn't know who they were when they sat down, and I was like, I could have interviewed anybody if they could have said, "Hey, I'm in Until I Wake." I'd be like, "Yes, you are."
Yeah, you sure are.
What a great record. But actually, speaking of interviews, we do have a guest coming up today. Terry Glaze reached out to me, and that's just one of those things where like I get a text from Terry and it's like, "Hey, can I come on the show?" And I'm like, "Dude, he played in a band with, he was in Pantera. Like he was in a band with Dimebag, this version of Dimebag that's on my shirt." So I'm like, "Absolutely, Terry Glaze, you can always come on the show." Like,
open door.
Right. Like I'll just give you a link every week for all I care. But yeah, he's going to jump on Evel Frehley, a couple new songs out. And there he is popping up right now. Con and The Last Thing on My Mind. So actually, before we get into some news, why don't we just bring in Terry?
All right.
If he's going to, let's see here. What's going on, man?
Hey, man.
Cool. There he is.
Are you ready to go?
Sure, whatever. Wing it. That's my my specialty.
All right, guys. Well, let's bring in Terry Glaze of Evel Frehley, formerly of Pantera. You can always throw that in there. A couple of great new songs, Budokan out, and Last Thing on My Mind. Checking those out today, man. So how are you doing, Terry?
Couldn't be better. Thanks. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing well.
Good.
So checking out Budokan, man, it just kind of like, it seems like it's just an ode to growing up listening to music, man. And even though I definitely wasn't into the live at Budokan type stuff, it did take me back to kind of getting into, music as a kid and just really just getting into, having no other responsibilities other than just listening to music all day.
That was the first record I ever bought with my own money.
Oh, nice.
I went down to Eckerd Drugs and I bought the record with my own money, and I came home and just, incredible.
So good, man.
Cheap Trick's my favorite band, and that was the moment in life when I thought maybe I could do this. Right. Because I think it was ninth grade when Van Halen won. Well, I can't do that. And before that, my favorite thing was Kiss and Ace Frehley. And I'm not going to do that. But in middle school, I saw Cheap Trick open for maybe Foreigner or something like that. I can't remember, but I was on the front row. Okay. And growing up listening to my mom's Elvis records and Beatles records, Cheap Trick sounded familiar to me. And also seeing that, I was like, I could maybe do that. That's what I want to do. Never thought I would get to. Because that was 40 whatever something years ago, but that was it, and still to this day, still my favorite band. I wrote that song in 2019, something like that. My wife was on travel, and she was in Japan, and she said, "I don't suppose you want to go with me." I was like, my old dream of my musical career was to travel and go places like Japan. And it turned out I got to go only because my wife is cooler than me. So on my last day in Tokyo, I looked up on my phone on the map, and it was a pretty far drive to Budokan. But crow flies, it was just right there across the park through the place where the emperor's, it was amazing. So anyway, I walk over there.
Okay.
And I just stood outside. It's a round theater, and I didn't even go sneak in. I just stood out there. It was almost like church for me. And I just stood there and kind of soaked it in. And it was a beautiful day. And I start walking back, and I texted my friend Tommy Roberts, who plays lead guitar on the track. And I said, "Hey man, I'm in Tokyo. I'm outside it." And he texted me back. He said, "Get your Budokan on." And I went, "Ooh." And I started walking back. And by the time I got back to the hotel, I had the song.
Oh, wow.
So it was like, if I wouldn't have been in that place at that moment, maybe I don't write the song. And if I wouldn't have texted my friend all the way on the other side of the planet back in Dallas, and he says that, and it just, planets aligned, so it was really cool. And so that's the 5th song that we recorded with Evel Frehley before the COVID shut everything down. And we remotely finished recording them and finished them. And then a year ago, April, we finished mixing them. And so we had five songs, not 10, but 5 songs. And we decided to slowly release them out into the wild. Right. And we didn't know what we were doing, So we picked our least favorite, Child, and we pushed that one out of the nest. And so over this last year and a half, this is finally the last one. And this is my favorite one of all of them. And I've been waiting. I've been so excited. I'd share it with little friends, but I hadn't released it. I hadn't given anybody a copy of it. So it was really exciting to finally, share it with everybody, especially all your friends.
Sure.
So really cool.
Well, Terry, releasing stuff that way, that's obviously more and more that is the new way, is people are releasing a single, here and there just to keep building interest. I don't know how that works. You've done it now. You've done it with 5 singles. Has it worked? Have you seen increased traffic from song to song to song, or do people forget, or how does that exactly work for you?
Exactly. Trying to have something to look forward to, as opposed to releasing a 5-song EP and then next month, old news. So it was really for me and Tommy and all of us to have something to look forward to. You got to have something to look forward to get out of bed every morning. A gig or a dinner or someone you love or something. You got to have something to look forward to. So that's kind of been the deal. I've been back to Dallas a couple times over the last 2 years, and we've actually recorded more stuff. When Budokan came out on that weekend, the guys in Dallas were mixing the next single, which is already set to come out in March. And we recorded, and that was recorded a year ago. And I was back in Dallas last April, and we recorded 3 songs that are in the different phases of being finished. And those will come out over the next year or so. And so trying to keep that going. But I live on the East Coast. The other 3 guys live in Dallas. We have never played a show. So in 2018, I can't remember if I told you this, I probably did, but 2018, it was just, hey, I'm going to come to Dallas. Here's a couple songs. Y'all want to get together and record for fun? No expectations. Thinking, what's the worst thing that happens? I get to hang with my friends, have some Mexican beer, go have some tacos. Pretty good day.
Right.
So I flew in 2018. We practiced one day. Next day we went in the studio and we got 2 songs out of it. So 2019, we practiced 2 days and got 3 songs. And then COVID hits. So I want to play shows, but this has been a way to keep the fellowship and the brotherhood going with my favorite musicians and also have something to look forward to. So our hope is, I hope we get to start playing, after the new year. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more plus another thing. And so the material's there, but hopefully, the world will let us, planets will align like that, like the other thing. And maybe we'll get to do some shows. That would be so cool. I would love to do a show or 10 shows or a bunch of shows,
Do all the shows.
Yeah, I want to do the shows. Yeah.
The one thing I was going to talk to you about was the songwriting itself on these couple of tracks, man. The Last Thing on My Mind and Budokan. I mean, like these are very well crafted songs, and your voice sounds great on them, man. I was listening to them today in the car, just kind of like, man, this is like, this is really, really good. You can come on the show anytime you want. But I was like, so the songs being good on top is a huge plus. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this is really good stuff, man. So kind of talk about, kind of talk about your voice over the years kind of like maturing into what it is now? Because I think it sounds, fantastic.
Look, man, I'm going to let you keep praising for at least 20 more minutes, but that's it. 20 minutes, we're cutting this off. All right. I still play around here in Maryland with a couple little cover bands, and I play music every day, and I'm the luckiest guy in the world. And so I got rehearsal here with my little band as soon as I get off the, line with you guys. But there's nothing like getting in a room with Kenley and Taz and Tommy and blowing this stuff out. And you get lucky if you find a couple songs that inspire you. I mean, it makes me so excited to hear you say you dig it, But even if nobody else liked it, I still do it, And I feel so lucky. But yeah, I was feeling it on that last thing. That song, man, that'll get you hyped in the car. And then
Right.
Same thing with Budokan. It was so hooky and just right place at the right time with the right guys. Because every one of those songs, it's probably the second take or at the most the third take in the studio. And then we never played it ever again. We've never played those songs live.
Wow.
So I can't wait to see what we bring to it. And it's just a credit to the other three guys. Tommy Roberts on lead guitar, Kenley Wolf, my buddy from Lord Tracy on bass, Taz Bentley on drums. He's been playing with me for over 10 years. That rhythm section, we just did that, kind of got together and did it. I can't wait to see what happens. If we ever got together, it might be frightening, how good, because those guys are really talented. I'm lucky to get on stage and stand next to those three guys. Because I've always, my whole career, I've been the luckiest guy standing next to some of the greatest musicians of all time. And that's probably, you want to know how to be successful? Get around the greatest musicians in the world. It sure is helpful. I'm always the worst guy in every band I'm in. So it's pretty good. Yeah.
Dude, when you look back at your career with all the bands, with Pantera, with Lord Tracy, now you obviously have the excitement right now. Did you always have it? Like, did you have it every time you went into a Lord Tracy record and every one of the three Pantera records? Or do you feel like you have more now because you have more invested now as you've gotten older and you're a little more come to grips with what you do?
You guys are too young to know this, but back when I was a kid, I'm sure I was ADHD. They just didn't have a name for it. But, I'm way more mellow than I used to be, as my friends will. So I'm sure it was awful to be around me in the old days, or at least way worse than it is now. But I just been so lucky. You get in a band when you're in high school with Vince Abbott, and because he's the best drummer in the school, and he says, "You want to start a band?" And he's like, "Well, I want my little brother to be in the band." And we're like, he's in middle school. I don't know if I want him. And so it's Darrell Abbott. And you're like, lucky for me. That was just right place. Man, there was something in the water in Texas, because there were so many great musicians coming out of that. But the answer to it is, as you can tell, man, I feel lucky to have I look forward to getting up every morning and working on something cool, So, yeah, really inspired every day. Really feel lucky. All my friends hate me. It's great.
Well, Terry, I wanted to ask you something. Obviously there's a version of Pantera.
Oh, what are we going? Are we going to talk about that?
We have to, man. I kind of looked around for it. I haven't really seen a statement from you or a comment.
I haven't really heard anything. What have you heard? What's going on?
So what are your thoughts on this, man? Obviously knowing the Abbott brothers growing up and knowing Rex and you've crossed paths with Phil over the years and things like that. And, obviously your connection to the band. So what are your thoughts on this, on them kind of going out and doing some, shows in tribute to their Abbott brothers?
I can't remember who I was talking to recently. I did an interview when all that stuff came out, and I'm just going to stick with what I said back then. I love Van Halen.
Okay. And
man, I freaking love Van Halen.
Well, that's not a ringing endorsement.
I mean, I do. I love Pantera.
Yeah.
I freaking love Darrell. I love Vinnie Paul. I love all those guys.
Mhm.
But I love Van Halen.
Let me be the asshole in the room. Will you be?
I thought I was.
No. Believe me, I get that record.
All right, fine.
Will you attend a show if it's in the town you're in?
Man, do you think they'll bring that to America? That would be incredible.
Oh yeah, they're gonna bring it to America.
It'll be everywhere.
Well,
Wow, this is the best comment ever.
Yeah, are you guys gonna go?
Oh yeah,
100%. Like I will be there with bells on.
I know you're going, Josh.
Oh yeah. No,
I love Van Halen.
Well, I mean, that actually brings me to another kind of thought that ran through my mind today. I mean, obviously your three Pantera records are underground classics at this point. Have you ever been approached to do any kind of a show of those songs, and would you ever consider doing maybe a vintage classic Pantera set?
he loves Van Halen.
I get people asking. The one thing I do get all the time is, when are you going to release those records?
Yeah.
And I would love it if those records will get released. I do not have physical possession of the masters. I would love if those records got released. The only thing that's not that great on those records is me. Darrell's the greatest. Vinny's the greatest. Rex sounds killer. So, I mean, when I put it on, it's the first record. We're still in high school. We're learning. The second album, Projects, Darrell's destroying.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would be amazing for other people to get to hear and share in that. I have copies of that stuff. I bought bootlegs. I bought them on my own records. So I still listen to that every now and then. Get so inspired to hear Darrell's guitar playing. One of the greatest of all time. I mean, freaking incredible.
Sure. Terry, I've always been curious about the fourth one, the one that came out without you with Phil. What did you ever demo those songs, or was that all written with Phil? I never heard one way or the other.
One of the songs is a remake from one of the first three records. I don't know which one it is. And then the rest of the stuff, came after me. But they redid a song that we had done before, and then they did their other stuff. So I got to tell you, when I split, within 2 weeks, I was in Lord Tracy. Just didn't know that's what it was. And I was busy. I didn't really know what anybody else was doing. There was a lot of cool bands that I was playing every weekend. I never got to go see anybody else. I've been playing recently here in Maryland with this old dude from West Virginia who plays steel guitar. This is me playing steel guitar right here. And I mean, growing up in Texas, but I was so busy, I never got to see any of that. So it just took me 40 years to finally check it out here when I get on the East Coast. But I really didn't know, Lord Tracy was doing its thing. Pantera was doing its thing. And both of us ended up getting record deals and being successful. So, I mean, cheers to, all of them.
Sure. I know on those records too, and I know we're turning this into old school memory hour, but
cool.
How was it working with Papa Abbott, doing all the production for those records? Because, people don't remember, and unless I'm crazy, he produced all three of those records, right?
He taught us so much. So part of getting in a band with Vince and Darrell was their dad was a recording engineer. Right. So when we were in high school, we used to go in the studio on days when no one was in there and just record our own little songs, and they were awful. You're learning how to do it. You're copying your heroes and you're writing these songs, and you learn. That's how you freaking learn, is you make mistakes. Nobody learns anything from perfection. You don't learn anything.
Right.
And so by the time we get out of high school, we've recorded 10, 20, 30 little songs, and their dad is managing us. We're lucky to have him. He's being he's booking us. He's taking us to the gigs. He's running sound. I mean, he taught us a lot. The only reason, ultimately, that I left Pantera was because there was 5 of us, 4 guys in the boat, in the band, not the boat, in a boat, and their dad. And the 3 Abbotts never split their vote.
Okay.
So there was never any negotiation without that was the way the votes went. And ultimately I chose to move in a different direction. But I wouldn't change or do anything different from all of those years. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for those 3 Abbotts. I know it. I love those guys, and I'm lucky to be here, sitting here telling stories, and it's a pretty good day.
Right on.
Was kind of. I'll get it back around to some Evel Frehley stuff, man. The last thing on my mind. That might be one of the best things to ever say to somebody that you just kind of, I'm assuming is towards someone that you hate, and just to let you know you're the last thing on my mind is probably one of the worst things you can say to somebody.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I was trying to go dark. I don't know if you know me, but most of my songs are just too happy, and I'm not good at dark. I blame Sammy Hagar and Mike Reno from Loverboy because I love Van Halen. So anyway, but I mean, nobody wants to hear, how good it's going. So I got to try and go into a different persona and write something dark. But I love the way that song came out, man. The vocals were killing it. Yeah. I really like that. The playing, Tommy's guitar parts are so weird and cool and just aggressive. And those 2 songs, those are my 2 favorite ones. We do have some new stuff that we're working on that's pretty cool too, though. I'm excited for that to get finished too.
So as we kind of wind down, what's the plan for Evel Frehley? Do we have, now that COVID's kind of gone away and everybody's kind of back out doing stuff, man? Are you going to get to Dallas and do some shows and things like that?
That's the goal. My mama lives in Fort Worth. I'm in, all my best friends are still there, and I go in and out, and I've been back twice over the last year. But we're hoping that once the cold weather breaks and we get back over 100 degrees in Dallas, probably by March, maybe we can get back. But yeah, that's the goal. I'd like to play like a not a 7-Eleven, not a corporate convenience store, but like a one-off liquor store. I'd like to set up back and play like there, or play like a taco place or something like that.
Those are some lofty goals, man.
I'm setting the bar so we can achieve some goals. I don't want to say, I want to get a record deal and I want to tour and I want to do this, but that would be cool too. But just, Mexican beer and some tacos, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Play some tunes.
Is that how they're going to pay you guys? And
you know what? We going to get paid?
So if Pantera calls and wants you to open some shows, will you do it?
Oh, I will definitely take the call.
There we go.
I fooled you. Because if there's one thing you guys now know.
Nice.
He loves Van Halen.
Man, I love Van Halen. Hey, are we gonna actually do a real recording of this? This is just a rehearsal, right?
Oh no.
What?
No, this was fun, man. Where can we send everybody to kind of check out Evel Frehley and keep up with you guys?
We do not have a great presence online. We have evelfrehley.com. You can get some cool merch, cool swag. We got cool shirts. And our records are on every place that Spotify, every place that you stream. You can buy copies of it on iTunes. I buy all my own records. But most of y'all out there don't buy any music because, you think music should be for free. And I'm here to tell you that is not the way it should be.
Right.
This stuff isn't, doesn't grow in trees. We work hard for this stuff.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Terry, man, it is always great to catch up with you, and thanks for being a good sport with our Pantera questions.
Hell yeah. Hey, it wouldn't be you got to have it, right? You got to have it. What's that shirt you're wearing?
I bought this from Rita at the Louder Than Life. It's a classic Dimebag shirt. I'm assuming you're standing like right here in this picture. But
you know what? I don't know. He doesn't have any chin whiskers.
Yeah, no chin whiskers. So I'm thinking this is super classic.
That's probably right after me because he looks really cool. They got cooler once they got rid of him.
The hair got bigger and the.
Oh man, how great was that?
Too good.
That guy had some great hair.
Oh yeah.
One time, a little side note.
Yeah.
One time, I was a lifeguard in the summer back in high school, and Darrell came over to my pool to go swimming, and Darrell was not. He was a teeny little dude.
Yeah, stick figure with him.
But when he got in the pool, it went down.
Right.
So all of a sudden, I only seen it I think once, and he shook it like a
dog,
and it just went boom. And it was pretty cool. But he had some great hair, man.
Oh yeah. Too good, man. Well, Terry, once again, always great to chat with you, man. Thanks,
Chris. Thanks, Josh. I hope I see you guys down the road. And thanks for all the kind words about Evel Frehley. Also, we're on Facebook, Evel Frehley, me, Terry Glaze. Send me a message. Tell me a story. I love it when people call and tell me stories about me and them, and I don't remember any of it. It's cool. But you guys, best of luck with everything. I hope I see y'all down the road. And thanks so much, man. Woo!
All right, brother.
Cheers, y'all.
All right, bro. There we go.
That was Terry Glaze for you.
Guess he doesn't want to answer those Pantera questions, huh?
Nah, we were close. I thought we were going to get him there, but we didn't. I honestly don't think we got anything there. I'll have to listen back, man.
All I got was that he really likes Van Halen and he really doesn't like Sammy Hagar.
Right. Yeah. That was fun though, man. My cheeks are hurting. I needed that laugh today, man. What a good dude, man. What a cool dude to jump on with us and hit us with some classic Pantera stuff I wasn't kidding. He just sent a thank you text message. But yeah, that was cool, man. And like I said, the songs are good. Like I said, he could come on if he's farting on a snare drum type stuff, and the songs are actually really good. So go check out some Evel Frehley.
Oh yeah, good stuff, man.
Well, let's dive into some news here.
All right. Since we didn't make any, let's just read somebody else's.
Speaking of the upcoming Pantera tour,
mm-hmm.
Zakk Wylde says he has yet to learn how to play Pantera songs for the upcoming tour.
Oh boy, that's encouraging. Let's be honest, though. He knows how to play them. Come on.
Yeah, well, he knows how to play them. I'm assuming he just means that he hasn't sat down with them to kind of go over it. Yeah. But yeah, he was speaking to to Ralph Sutton, good friend of the show, the SDR show over there. And actually, I watched that show. I've honestly never checked out the SDR show, and I saw that Zakk Wylde was going to be on it, and I was already on my computer down here, and I was like, I'll pull it up. So I watched a little bit of it. But yeah, he just discussed his participation in the Pantera Celebration Tour during an appearance on the SDR show. I had nothing to do with putting the Pantera thing together. I'm friends with the guys. It'd be like if Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell were going to do a tribute to Jimi Hendrix and they asked Eric Clapton, Eric, would you sing and play Jimmy stuff? We're going to put this tribute thing together. It's just like, of course, Eric would do it. Just let me know when you want to do it. It's just like anything when we do Experience Hendrix. We do anything like that. It's just like, would you guys like to go out and honor Jimi Hendrix? It's like, yeah, and why wouldn't we?
Right.
So he's just, kind of reiterating, going out there and, tributizing the one and only Dimebag and Pantera.
Dude, I mean, look, and I saw some of the sniping that went on as soon as Zakk said this about, this tour is going to suck. They're not even
right.
Does Zakk Wylde really have to try that hard? I mean, God damn it. Zakk is a world-class guitar player.
Yeah.
Who spent how much of his free time with Dimebag? They played these songs together 1 million times, just not in front of crowds.
Right.
It's not going to take him that. The only thing that is really going to be, and I wish he would have said it better, The only thing he's got to work out probably is the little idiosyncrasies of, the little tiny bits on the tail ends of solos or in the middle of solos or the transitions from song to song. Right. It's not like he's never heard Walk before and he's got to learn how to play it. I mean, I'm sure he could pick up a guitar and you could throw a Pantera song name at him and he could halfway to 3/4 of the way play it now. So he'll be fine. Stop worrying that it's going to be some shitbag show. It's going to be great. Stop it.
Yeah, but he says you have to approach it the same way you do when I'm playing with Ozzy. Obviously, I've got to learn Randy Rhoads stuff, and I've got to learn Jake's stuff, and when doing the Black Sabbath stuff, you learn it and do it as faithful as you can. So,
yeah.
Well, I'm blanking. I was trying to make a point here, but I'm blanking on.
Well, he's proven it before. He's proven it. He's obviously, with the guitar players that you just named 3 great guitar players with Jake and Randy and Tony Iommi. And he's faithfully played. I've seen those tours. You've seen those tours. He's faithfully done that. I mean, he brings his own element to it, which is fine. He's going to bring his own element to this. It's not going to be note perfect what Dimebag did because he's not Dimebag.
Yeah. What I was thinking of was when Gary Holt joined Slayer, like he did not play Jeff Hanneman stuff note for note solo wise. He admitted himself that he just did the familiar parts. If there was a part of a solo that was classic, he kept that stuff, but then he just did his own stuff, the other 50% of the time. So I'm kind of curious to see how note perfect Zakk's going to be on some of this Pantera stuff, or if he's going to kind of do a little half and half or do his own little stuff here and there. What would you want him to do? And what do you think he's going to do?
Well, probably both the same. I want him to do kind of his own thing, but be as faithful as he can be. I want him to be as faithful as he can be without it sounding mechanical.
Right.
Because, Pantera as a band was never exactly note perfect live on stage either. I mean, they were close. And Dimebag was very close in a lot of songs. But, the funny thing is I am so not worried about Zakk Wylde in this band.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Philip. I'm worried about one of the originals. I'm not worried about Zakk Wylde. I'm wanting Philip to be able to do that voice and not croak through cemetery gates or something like that. I'm way more worried about that.
I will be surprised if they play that song.
You don't think they have to in a celebration? I know it's out of his range now.
Yeah.
But he has talked about wanting to go back to doing that, which in my head makes me think he's at least trying to get himself ready to do that. Even if it's for that one song, you don't think they have to do Cemetery Gates?
I don't even know if I really saw them play Cemetery Gates, but maybe one time out of the 10, 12 times I saw them play. Like I don't think that was a staple of the set. I think it's a staple of their catalog, but I don't think it was ever a true staple of the set. So
yeah, but this is a tribute to the band.
I get it.
There's a difference between that and touring for Far Beyond Driven.
Right. No, I got you.
I don't know, they have to. I think it's one of their biggest hits. Right. If not, is it that or Walk would probably be the big quote unquote hits, right?
Walk, This Love,
This Love,
Cowboys from Hell, the song, like things like, we could probably, just yell out the set at this point, but hopefully they mix in a few, bonus tracks or whatever, deep cuts and whatnot. But,
deep cuts. Sure.
Yeah. I'm not worried. Even if Zakk didn't know the songs the day before the tour started, I still wouldn't have any issues with Zakk. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine. And I think Charlie will be fine. And I'm sure Rex will be fine.
Yeah.
Again, there's only one guy to worry about. And that's the guy that hasn't sounded like Pantera in a while.
Someone you can probably relate to is As They Lay Dying singer Tim Lambesis. He reflected on
my wife.
He reflects on the decision to hire a hitman to kill his ex-wife. He says, "I lost my way."
Oh, really?
Lambesis looked back on his time behind bars in a new interview with the Garza podcast with Chris Garza of Suicide Silence, just recently on the Louder Than Life interviews I did.
right?
My thinking was so isolated that in my own mind and disconnected from my support system that I didn't really even fathom or realize how much I had lost myself and the core of who I really was. It's like I was this one person for most of my life. And then for this period of my life, I had this very isolated, different type of mindset, and then have since returned to being much of who I was in the earlier part of my life. Of course, the added perspective of everything I went through. I don't really know how to describe it. I lost myself. I lost my way. And I sat there in a cell being like, how did I become this person? He continued. It kind of blew my mind.
Gee, the devil made me do it. Stop it. Just stop it. You hated your chick and you wanted her dead. I hate it. And again, I don't know Tim. I've interviewed him once or twice, but I don't know Tim. He might be a great guy other than this one attempted murder. But, other than that, he might be great. But here's the thing. Just be honest. And first point, kudos to Garza for asking the question. That's pretty bold. I'll give that guy much credit for asking that question. But I give Lambesis no credit for his answer. Stop with the metaphysical. It was the yin and the yang that weren't aligned in the. Stop it. You hated this broad. You were with her. You hated her. You wanted her dead. You slipped up. You tried to get her dead. It didn't work out. You paid for it. That's what happened. None of this. I fell in a dark place and I was in the wrong place of mind. And stop. Stop.
The only thing that, and I'm about to read this paragraph. This was the only other part of it that I could kind of give not a pass to, because obviously trying to hire a hitman to kill your wife is beyond. But it says at the time of the musician's sentencing, Lambesis' attorney said the gym culture led to changes in the singer's physiological and mental status, where Tim's bodybuilding obsession caused him going from 170 to 220 pounds. After first taking supplements, then steroids, he was not the same person. He was irritable and lost God. But the steroids part of it, and I think, my wife, actually, she was listening to, she better be listening to me or I'm going to be like Tim. She was listening to a podcast about Chris Benoit the other day.
Sure.
And we were kind of having this talk, and through listening to Chris Jericho stuff and just kind of that stuff, I think that the steroids probably had a lot to do with his issues too. Obviously, Chris Benoit was much worse off than Tim Lambesis, but I think, man, you get that Roy rage in you, dude. You just that's one thing I think steroids is probably obviously the muscles and stuff are cool, but the side effects are pretty rough when it comes to steroids. I'm
going to disagree. I'm going to tell you why. Because in Benoit's case, he snapped and whacked his wife and his kid.
Yeah.
He snapped.
Right.
He lost control. This guy did not lose control. This guy was like, whether he was hyped up on whatever, or, on steroids or whatever the hell he was injected in himself, he still had to make conscious thoughts. Got to find the hitman. Got to find out how much the hitman costs. Got to pay the hitman. Got to get him a picture. Got to get him a schedule. This was very planned out. This was not very like, oh shit, I wish she was dead. Will you do it? It wasn't, It wasn't that way. He planned the shit. He got caught. He did his time. I don't even hold him as a bad guy for doing it. Honest. I mean, yeah, he shouldn't have done it, but he paid his due. So as far as I'm concerned, move on with your life. But stop making up horse shit because you can't admit to the public. You're a public figure. Admit that you fucked up. That's all.
Yeah. So, I've been starting to go to the gym. I wonder if there's anybody at the gym that would, you could pay to do some certain deeds like this.
Look, I got a text from Melissa saying, "Is he serious?"
Oh man. Man, this whole Tim Lambesis thing, it's a mess.
Yeah, it is.
But he did his time, and he's obviously remarried, which good for her.
Yeah, wow, she's the brave one in this battle. Holy smokes.
No,
dude, and maybe I'm crazy here. And again, I'm reading into this something that I've not seen or heard anywhere. Doesn't sound like from the way that As I Lay Dying is going that he's like mellowed in any way. mean, he just replaced the whole damn band.
Yeah, he's
You know? So he's still not as super easy to deal with.
right.
So who knows, man? Maybe he's just a mean guy.
Maybe he is. Maybe he's still on the roids. You never know.
He's mean, Michael Sweet.
This story I think is a bit ridiculous.
All right.
Five-Finger Death Punch vocalist Ivan Moody to retire from metal after one more album. And I watched this video the other day. It's pretty ridiculous. He goes out on stage. He's either from or he lives in Denver, Colorado. He's always, I know that's where he's from or based.
Okay.
And he's out there on stage with his two kids and he's having some moment. And I think he's just having a moment.
Sure.
He's just sitting there talking about, he does this whole speech with each kid on each side of him. I want to spend more time with you guys. Let's see. Here it is. I wanted to tell you this, and nobody else in the world knows. Denver, so this is where it's going to start. And what you do with it is up to you. The last 15 years of my life, I've toured the world. I've seen every country, every city on this planet at least twice. That's a fact. And through that time, many of you parents know I have missed a lot of time with my kiddos. Nothing more metal than your singer talking about his kiddos on stage. So I made a deal today, and I'm going to stick to it. After this year, I'm going to make one more Five-Finger Death Punch album, and then I'm retiring from heavy metal.
Okay.
And so he's got his kids on both sides. Honestly, I think Ivan is super emotional, and I get that. But this announcing his retirement after another album, which another album means another tour. So any kind of retirement is going to be 3, 4, 5 years from now, and
so
by that time,
his kids will be grown anyway.
his kids will be like, get out.
Great work,
Dad.
dude. Great work. You'll be there for graduation ceremony. That's about it. Yeah, this is the same as what's his name, James Hetfield.
Yeah.
This is the same as Hetfield breaking down bawling on stage. Same thing. He probably had some emotional deal with his wife and his kids, and he's like, "Why am I doing this?" You've been on the road, dude. Everybody has that moment on the road. Even when you're young, even when you're 22 or 23 years old, you're in the middle of bullshit wherever. Then you get somewhere that you're comfortable, and you're like, I don't want to leave this place. I slept in my own bed last night.
Right.
Now I'm going off to some Fleabag motel in Duluth, Minnesota or wherever, and you're just like, what am I doing here? I'm sure that's what it was. He saw his kids, probably hadn't seen his kids in a month, hadn't seen his chick in a month, got all weird emotionally. He ain't retiring. Just stop it. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? Go get a corporate job?
Right. Yeah. He's, this is like any of those retirements too. That's like, if he's too young, first off, to retire from music, because in 10 years from now, they'll be announcing the Five-Finger Death Punch reunion tour.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads me to another thing. I didn't actually plan on talking about this, but I've been thinking a lot about it, because you've got bands. Melissa and I were talking about this the other day. I was like, there are certain bands that just trudge through the bad times. Like you've got like Korn. Korn was kind of the big one to me. Like they've, lost members, gained members, did a dubstep album, but they've never broken up, and they've kind of stayed at like a level. But there's a lot of these bands that have broken up, and then they're like, you know what, we're reunion tour, Blink-182.
Yeah,
if they would have just kept putting out albums, that no one would care this much that Blink-182 is going on tour again. And I get that Matt Skiba was kind of filling in, and they never truly fell off. I'm just saying, like, classic lineup nonsense. And then My Chemical Romance, they were broke up for like 4 years before they announced a reunion, and then people freaked out. I was just like, they were active until like 2013, and then they in 2017 or 18 they started, some activity started happening around the My Chemical Romance camp. I'm like, where were you guys when they put out Danger Days? Like nobody gave a shit about that album. You guys are all going back to the Black Parade and stuff, but and even like a Faith No More, like all these bands that just like got to a level, and then they broke up, and then they came back bigger. I think in a lot of these bands' cases, I think the move is to quote unquote break up for even as they lay dying. I mean, I get that Tim was in jail, but they were at a point. they went away and then they came back. When they first came back, I mean, everybody was like, dude, as I lay down, he's going on tour again. Like they were freaking out, man. So what do you think? Do you think it's better for a band to kind of go away for a while and say they're going to break up and then all of a sudden announce reunion tour? Or do you think, trudging through the bad times and kind of staying at a certain level?
No, I think the breaking up is definitely better. What is it? I forget the saying about
absence makes the heart grow harder.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that is just the truth. Every band that you hear, the minute you hear a rumor about it, people start talking, look, different style of music completely, but all of a sudden I'm seeing Creed being floated out there again.
Yeah.
And I mean, Alter Bridge has been super, super successful. So it's not like you couldn't see all of those guys except Scott Stapp with a better vocalist,
right?
For the last 15 years or whatever with Alter Bridge. But Mark Tremonti mentions Creed might be happening or it'll happen when it's going to happen. Instantly, everybody's talking about it. And, and then you go the other way, bands that just trudged on that should have broke up for a while. I'll compare an A to a B. A band that broke up, came back versus a band that stayed around. God Forbid broke up, came back. A lot of excitement around God Forbid coming back and playing, whatever that show was that they played.
Yeah. The Blue Ridge.
Unearth that has never gone away. Unearth just kept going. Same style of band, kept on going. Ain't nobody caring.
Right.
And I love Unearth. So I'm definitely not shitting on them. I'm just saying, had they gone away for 10 years and come back, they'd probably have more interest in the band. I honestly think that when you just trudge through it, especially if the popularity goes down, if you end on a bad note, if you end where you've kind of been forgotten anyway, look, Crazy Town's been gone for 10 years. And I don't think anybody's going to give two shits if they announce a big tour.
Technically, Crazy Town's been touring for the last 5 years, but
have they? Well,
that proves your point. But yeah,
that proves my point exactly. No one cares,
right.
But like Shadows Fall goes away and comes back, and it seems like every time they come back, they played sold out shows.
Yeah,
they don't play many. I will say they don't. I'd be interested to see what they would do if they toured around the country. Yeah, but they play that one Massachusetts show every 4 or 5 years, and they sell it out. They pull Johnny off of Anthrax, and he comes back to Shadows Fall for a minute.
I think a big one is, we could even pull in Mark Hunter for this conversation because Mark trudged Chimera until the wheels fell off and he was pulling it across the finish line. And then now, he does the thing for Lamb of God. People are freaking out. Yeah. They sold out that recent Christmas show they did that, a little while back. And like, they're a band that if they came out tomorrow with new album and tour, it would be like new album, classic lineup, new tour. It would be massive.
Who would they be bigger than now? Would they be as big or bigger if they came back? Let's just say we're booking magical tours.
Okay.
Who's the opener? Who's the headliner? Them or Killswitch?
I think, Killswitch is a band that trudged through, and they're one of those bands that I think that like if they went away and came back, they would probably come back bigger. I still think Killswitch is probably the headliner on that one.
All right.
But I think that man, like I was thinking like a Trivium.
It's close though. It's kind of, or Trivium's another one.
Like something in there.
Who do you think is the headliner there?
If we're going like classic lineup, new album, new tour, I still want to. I'm
up.
Yeah, it's toss up like co-headlining kind of thing or something, or like Chimera new album, Trivium plays classic album kind of tour or something like that. But I mean, I think those kind of that kind of tour do huge numbers. Yeah,
I think Chimera would come back and they would be like not a band, not 10,000 seat band, but right below that. I think there's, because they haven't, I mean, as crazy it has been, 10, 12 years now since
it's been a while.
It's definitely been long enough. And Mark does pretty good whenever he does any, the little vocal things and stuff that he does on Twitch. Mark does big numbers, man. I think and Rob Arnold has his YouTube channel that does really well too. I think there's still a definite hunger for that band. I think what helps those bands, Killswitch, even though they didn't break up, but the same, they did not have a dip in musical output.
Right.
Neither band put out a really shitty record. Like they didn't end on a bad note. I mean, there's some people that probably look at Rules of Hell, the last one from Chimera, I think.
Your guess is as good as mine on that one.
Yeah, I'm looking it up, but whatever it was, it wasn't awful. It wasn't. It just was not a bad record. It was just not their best record. Right. Where and the same with Killswitch. When Killswitch switched back and forth between Jesse and Howard Jones, it wasn't at the expense of bad right. music. Jesse came in and they just kept going right down the line of great music, which is why Killswitch is kind of the modern metal equivalent to Van Halen with Sammy Hagar. They just switched singers and just kept right on trudging. Got more popular, not less.
And the only band that I was thinking that kind of just weathered the storm and is still as big as ever is the band that's behind you right now is Metallica.
Sure.
Like even in the worst times of the load, reload, Lulu, all that era, they would still come to town and sell out the arena. It's not like they ever really had even in the worst times, they would still come to town. And you've talked about it in the past too. No matter what, you would take the day before and the day after off, and you were going to drink it, start drinking at 4 a.m. and all that nonsense to get ready for the show. So I think Metallica might be the one, exception to the rule here. But I think that the most bands, I think they just, a band like Seven Dust would be a great example. If they would have broke up at some point, and then all of a sudden, Seven Dust is coming back, I think it would be a much bigger deal than Seven Dust just trudging through like they have. And they continue to put out great record after great record. Every time I see them live, they're amazing live. So it's not like their output's bad. It's just like but everybody knows that if I miss Seven Dust this time, they're going to be back in 8 months.
In a year, right? Exactly. But but let's use that band as an example. They've put out great records.
Yeah.
But they've been similar records.
Yeah.
I think if we wouldn't have had the last 2 or 3 Seven Dust records and we would have had a gap and then they came back, I think we would be way more excited than we are. And that's not saying anything. I love like Blood and Stone and all that stuff. I love that stuff. But I think if we would have had a gap in there and then they came back, I think we'd be way more pumped up for their comeback.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude, look at how Disturbed does it too. Disturbed's another band. They take long times off in between. They've never really broken up. In fact, they've had one member change and then that guy came back, I think.
I think so. I think the bass player is different at some point, but I think that's it.
Yeah. But they're still huge. And I think they've been able to maintain just because they take long gaps in between. They make you wait for it so that when they do come back, you hear that new song and you throw on Down with the Sickness one more time. And you're like, oh yeah, I love that band back in 2001 or whatever. I think it almost goes band for band now that we're talking about it. I don't think I don't think there is a formula.
Like a formula.
For it.
Yeah. Formula.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just nuts, man. I mean, I guess nostalgia gets us all at some point too, because, and a lot of the bands I'm talking about now that are kind of coming back around, like the Blink-182 and the My Chemical Romance. I mean, that's all of a time period where a lot of those people that listened to that stuff as a kid, they got married, they had kids, they had a job that's dragging them down, and then all of a sudden a piece of their childhood came back, and they're like, "Oh my God, I got to go see Blink-182 because I liked them when I was 14, and now I'm 34 and." Looking at a mortgage and wife and kids and stuff. Yeah.
Now they're willing to put away their Jason Aldean record just for a minute so that they can go back to their youth.
Too funny, man.
Well, by the way, real quick, the Chimera record, Crown of Phantoms, was the last one.
What year was that? Does it say?
2013.
Yeah. See, I mean, I guess 2013 is already almost 10 years ago.
That's 10 years ago. And that wasn't bad. I didn't hate that. Remember the Outshined cover?
No, I don't actually. But I'll have to go check it out. I could have lied and said, "Oh yeah, man, it was great," but no, I think Johnny Cash do Outshine too.
Yeah, why not? Everybody else is covering it. Why shouldn't they?
Why shouldn't they? All right, man. Well, let's dive into some recommendations, or what you've been listening to. What have you been watching, man?
Watching absolutely nothing. What I'm trying to think of, have I listened to anything good? I'll be honest. Really the only thing I've listened to this week has been because I was getting ready for that, to talk to Black Veil, to talk to Andy. And I was checking out their new EP, The Morning, which is excellent. If you're a fan of them, especially if you're a fan of their last record that came out in 2021, The Phantom Tomorrow, if you're a fan of that, you will love this EP. It comes out Friday. It's just called The Morning.
Okay.
It is awesome. And it has this one song on it called Devil. It's the heaviest song they've ever done. I mean, it is a true metal song, no emo, nothing. It is balls out heavy.
Nice.
So really good stuff. That's pretty much all I've been listening to, and watching nothing of. I've been watching just a shit ton of like horror movies because it's October and Peacock keeps feeding them to me, and just more and more it just keeps reminding me that Peacock should not touch horror movies because everything they do is garbage. So
nice.
Nothing really. I did watch Clerks 3. That was good.
Oh yeah. I think you were talking about that. Did we talk about that last time, or was that just on the phone?
You talked about it, that you saw it, but I actually bought it. It went on sale, like some flash sale on Amazon for like $10 or something. It was cheap.
Nice.
So I bought it and watched it. And
what's your review of it?
Good way to end it. It's a good way to end it. It's perfect that it's not going to keep dragging. We're not going to get Clerks 8. It's right. I like the way they ended it. I don't know how much we want to spoil it, so I won't. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun the way they brought back a lot of the old characters. I'm definitely going to reach out for Chris Akin Presents or Classic Metal Show or one of them shows, or maybe this one if you want to do it. We'll get the Chuli's Gum guy on.
Yeah.
Because we had him on Classic Metal Show. He was a riot, man. He's really funny. He's a stand-up comic. But he was in it, and basically everybody that was in Clerks 1 that's still living was in it. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought that the script was good. I thought it definitely had the tearjerker moments in it, like you had said. Strong movie. Definitely stronger than Clerks 2. Definitely better than that.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Clerks 2 a lot too. I liked what is it, Elias, whatever his name is? But he was great. I loved his character arc in the new movie, but every time you saw him, he was a little bit more goth, a little bit more metal every time you saw him.
Yeah.
it was pretty ridiculous, but yeah. And then, I mean, I think that they nailed it on the tying it all together, making it a nice trilogy. I think, I'm assuming that's probably what Kevin Smith wanted to do anyway. Being a big Star Wars fan, you got to kind of have your trilogy stuff going on. But yeah, definitely some tearjerker moments, and it hits the nostalgia feels and all that good stuff.
My favorite parts were, and I won't say what specifically, but you'll get it.
Okay.
I loved when they did the parts where they reenacted stuff from Clerks 1.
Yeah.
But not exactly.
Right.
Like specifically the one part where Silent Bob gave his speech. That had me laughing my ass off, man. It's so good. Yeah. It was well worth the watch, man. I definitely recommend. It's on Amazon or Vudu or any of them, I'm sure. Right. But for sure it's on Amazon, and it's like $10 or $12 or something. So buy it, enjoy it.
Music wise, it's kind of funny you talked about that. I've literally only listened to Chiodos and Drugs all week because of the Craig Owens interview. I absolutely love his voice. I know that
nice.
I've had people in the camps and talk about, he might be a little difficult to work with, but as a musician or as a fan of music, I enjoy what he does.
Sure.
But actually, TV wise, we actually have been watching The Watcher on Netflix, and my wife, who I will not murder or have murdered from the the gym people that I go to, she she was bringing. It's funny, we watch these serial killer documentaries, and how many times she'll be like, that was actually not how that happened, and like, so we're watching The Watcher, and The Watcher. Do you know anything about it?
I don't.
Okay, so The Watcher it's based on a true story. It's based on it's based on this old house that's in a neighborhood that just keeps getting these mysterious letters from somebody calling themselves The Watcher, and it's basically like, feed your kids to the bloodbath that they need to be, and blah blah blah. It's just and then like, but then they'll like start giving you like I see that your kid's name is Todd and Margaret, and things like it gets personal and stuff.
Right.
And in real life, they've never found out who the Watcher is. But this is, and that multiple people have bought this house, and it's always the cycle. So I guess this is a 7-episode arc of the Watcher, and about 3 episodes in, it just starts tailing off from the true story, and they just start making up a story, I guess. And so and every time like a Kiss documentary or Motley Crue documentary comes out, all of us guys were like, that's not how it happened. Actually Ace played that solo, not Paul,
Right.
So she's doing that with this series, and she was sitting there watching it at one point, and they added this character that had nothing to do with this house, and they started telling the story of this character, and she goes, oh, this is the story of, and said the name, and I looked it up, and it's a totally different murder. And she's like, oh, they're just adding this in here and blah blah blah. So it just kind of gets scary that my wife will sit there and watch the Jeffrey Dahmer stuff, and she's like, oh, this person's gonna die, and oh, this is the one that gets away, and she knows everything before it happens. And so if anybody needs to be worried about getting murdered in this relationship, I'm sure it's me and not her. Nice. But yeah, I mean, it's an excellent series. We have one more episode to go.
Is it a doc or is it a movie or a show?
It's a show. They made it into a show. But it's well acted, and the whole time you're trying to figure out who the Watcher is, and obviously they pretty much make it out to be anybody in the cast. So it's like every time that you're like, maybe that's the Watcher, but maybe that's but I think in real life they never found who the Watcher was, so I don't really know why they made a series out of it, because there's really no actual conclusion to this. But it is a crazy story that and it happened for like years and years and years. It wasn't even like a week. It was
it's sort of like Zodiac in a similar way, where Zodiac was never found.
You'll have to ask Melissa that one.
Well, Zodiac was never caught either. That's still every once in a while with the Zodiac, they're like, we've got a new clue. It's like 50 years later.
And then
this guy knows.
And then I don't have it up right now, but there's another kind of like docu-series that they did on it's called Friend of the Family, I believe that's what it's called. I think it's on Peacock or Hulu. It's on Paramount Plus. It's not on Netflix, I know that.
Okay.
But it's based on you remember the story of the guy that kind of became a friend of the family and then kidnapped the daughter, and the big thing in the documentary is the dad ended up giving the guy a blowjob or hand job or whatever. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. I
so they made a documentary or a docu-series on that. Okay. And we're a couple episodes in on that too. So it's that's actually really good too. Colin Hanks plays the dad that obviously he's like, hey, you got to help your friend out,
Right.
But they kind of go into that story, and that's a crazy, crazy happenings that happened back then too. So yeah, I actually been watching a lot more TV than I have recently, and
wow, and all uplifting. Jesus.
Yes, and it's all like, basically murder porn and all that good stuff.
Too funny.
Yeah. Well, huge thank you to Terry Glaze for hopping on with us, making us laugh, and telling us how much he loves Van Halen.
That's right.
But make sure to go check his stuff out, man. The Evel Frehley stuff. Once again, I can't say it enough, man. It's good stuff, and I'll definitely be listening to it more than just getting ready for the interview.
Sure. Yeah, it is very good stuff. He's a character. He is definitely a character.
Yeah, he definitely needs to get his ADHD checked out.
I just appreciate the fact that he said I'm not as old as him. That's a lie, but okay.
We're just a couple of young whippersnappers.
Yeah, we're both in our 20s.
Right. But yeah, so go back, check out my Craig Owens interview, the Until I Wait guys. Chris did Andy Black from Black Veil Brides. So that's a good one to go check out too. And so yeah, that'll wrap it up for another episode of Talk to Me here on notfest.com. So for the Talk to Me podcast, I'm Joshua Toomey.
I am Chris Akin.
And we will talk to you soon.
Bye, kids.